Yo, what's up, what's up, what's up? Welcome back. Today we're working on my image to ASCII neural network. So the idea is that we have picture, right? We want to turn picture into something that could be like visualized in a terminal, so turn it into something made out of text, right? You zoom in here and these are actually, little visual characters. When you zoom out, it looks pretty similar to the original. What we're visualizing right now on screen is like generation of labels. So we're doing this without any neural network. We're just kind of like, we've made up a set of rules that we thought are pretty good at like finding a good match. Originally, we were just looking at like brightness of the pixels, but that doesn't look very good compared to like trying to do some sort of like sub-glyph accuracy type of thing, right? So the idea being you have, a sample that you're like trying to convert into a character. It might be like 5 by 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And right, if you like put like an X in here, you kind of would want hand wavy an X to be chosen as your character here, right? And so the question that you're gonna immediately ask is why use AI for this, right? It seems like this is like a problem that could be solved without it, and I agree, somewhat. So if we wanted to find the best character by some metric, we have like a couple options. One is you have to like compare with every single character, right? Which turns out, as far as like we've got so far, it's like pretty expensive, right? So to do like a 1080p image at like this approximately this resolution, we're seeing that it takes maybe 2 seconds on the CPU to compare every sample with every character, because there's like 1,500 characters. That's a lot of characters. That's a lot of pixels. Or you could try to like pre-compute, but if you pre-compute, you would need to basically have some sort of like efficient lookup from individual glyph to character, and that's effectively what the AI is doing for us. It's creating like a set of rules that it can use to efficiently look up the answer. Because if you were to like just try to do like a hash map or something of input, your input is like what, 255 different values per pixel times like by 25 pixels. That's 255 to the power of 25 options. That's way too many. You wouldn't be able to like store that effectively. And so like the hypothesis is that if we train a good neural network, we'll get good enough results in a very quick amount of time, and then we might be able to do something in the future, like apply this effect in real time to like a video of some form, right? That's kind of the end goal. And so today's topic is trying to visualize network output and specifically try to visualize failures of the network. So where we're at right now is we've managed to train a network that does produce like meaningful output. So I think I probably have this somewhere. Let's see, what's this guy say? Okay, so this is like an example output of a network. This is supposed to be a house. You can kind of see that there's like a house here, there's some windows, there's like a tree here. It's like, okay. But we also added like some statistics to our, we added a way to like check basically how many of these were correct and how many like gave us exactly what we asked it to give us, right? And the network I'm seeing like around like 65 or 70% accuracy, which seems kind of poor, right? And like I was experimenting yesterday or like last night with trying to like increase the network's complexity. And what I found interesting there was I expected to be able to like approach a better answer as I just like scaled up the network. And I wasn't seeing that. So there's like a couple options there, right? One is that the network architecture is just shit, which it is, right? It is shit. We're kind of doing like a pretty stupid neural network right now. We're not doing like any like convolutions. We're just doing like simple take input, look at input, go to output with some like hidden linear layers in between, which is like not very good, right? But it's not doing as well as I'd expect. And so another option here is that maybe our like labeling, as in like what do we determine like the correct answer, is maybe like ambiguous in some way. So I would kind of like to see where does the network, or where do we like think that the network was wrong, and how wrong was it, right? Say that there's like two very good options, right? If we go and we click on like up this guy's like the grass over here, we might see that these guys are all like good options, and their scores are actually like reasonably close together, right? And we're saying like pick the lowest one. And so it'd be interesting to see if the network is wrong. Is it wrong because it's like picked this one instead of this one, right? Maybe it's just a little bit off, in which case maybe that's like acceptable. Or maybe it's like there are two things that are like very ambiguous about which one's correct, right? Maybe like the 5/8 and the 5/6 look very similar, and in some cases they're like essentially the same answer, and the network just like has to 50-50 it. And so it'd be kind of interesting to just kind of see what that looks like. So what I'm imagining that we take this output and we essentially just like, can I just copy paste this over here? I kind of want to just see us like, can I do alpha here? Alpha channel, like 30. Oops, and then we take like a box. I kind of want to see like regions essentially where we do like, well, can I not draw a fucking box? There we go. Right, I want to see like these ones were right and like these ones were wrong. Jesus Christ, come on, man. Right, like these ones are wrong. And if we can like kind of like see all overlaid on the image which ones are correct, which ones are incorrect, that might give us like an intuition on if there are like certain types of areas where the network's a little bit confused. I also maybe want to see like right here, we like click on the image and we can see like what the expected answer is. And I would like to be able to say like, okay, I want to see like the network output as one of these options, not just like our training labels. And maybe it'd be nice to see like this is what we predicted and this is what the right answer was, and then like compare them in some way, right? So that's kind of what I'm thinking. And so chain of events here is probably first we have to like at least find a way to show the output of the neural network in this view. Another one would be then like add on like this like visualization of good and bad. And then maybe after that, we'll like throw the thing in the corner. And then maybe from there, we'll be able to like gain some intuition about why we are not doing as well as I think we should be. Yep. And so that's the plan. Okay. So let's just kind of get moving on that. I've been kind of like working on this a little bit off stream. So I was first in a state where we've added in this like cached network loader, and it looks like this like batching. Sorry, what am I trying to say? We've adjusted some of the outputs of our like data loaders a little bit, and so in like the current version, I think that we're kind of actually failing to render this view at all. So I think we need to like maybe patch that up a little bit. Right, we're not seeing the royal we. Yeah, I say we a lot because I like to pretend I'm multiple people. But yeah, I'm seeing like a couple errors in here. So probably actually before we even get into this, before we start integrating anything, is fix the visualization at all. So bring visualization, fix viz on latest commit. And let's just kind of like look into where it's failing. So we've adjusted. So before we were giving out when we sampled our data. Where is a good way to draw this? You have like, picture gets sampled into like little chunks like this, boom, 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 boom. And before we were making it so that we basically just got like a flat array of these chunks, and we just said like, here are the chunks, here are the labels. But on the last stream, we adjusted this to give us like a 2D grid of samples because that helped us debug a couple other things. And I think that that's probably just not hooked up properly. We probably just broke the visualization script when we did that. So let's just kind of see where it's failing and clean that up real quick. Okay, so where are we? We're in visualize. We're trying to get image output. So that's this guy here on the right. So we'll just open this in a new tab, refresh it a couple times, and it'll fail, and that's okay. But it just gives us like a little place to test. And it looks like he's trying to render the output, and he's failing in some way. So let's just look at what's going on there. Visualize, get output, get image output. Here we go. So he's extracting samples from the image, getting their labels, and then running those through the text renderer. So probably here, we probably changed the output of those labels, and that's probably causing problems. So let's just add a little log in there and double check. Yeah, it sure is. So for now, this guy's probably expecting that the labels come in as one-dimensional. So I think probably we could, or it's kind of expecting that like each row of these guys is not like split up the way they're being split up now. So we can probably just say labels is equal to labels flatten the first and second dimension, and probably that will turn us into something that's like 85 by 85 by label into like 85 times 85 by label. That's just like my guess though. I haven't actually like looked too closely, but that's just, I'm pretty sure. So we can go, oopsies, not rotate. I want to go over to here, refresh. Okay, cool. So that output's working again. And probably we just have to apply that same fix to a couple other places. So I guess in this script, just anywhere that's calling get labels for samples, we're just gonna have to apply this same fix. So here we go. We do the same thing here. And I probably, there's one more. No? Let's try that. We'll try that. Where were we? I'm lost. Where's my webpage? Did I close it? I might have. All right, give it a sec. So this is back. This is still broken. So what doesn't he like there? This is on handle one request, get sample output, get labels for sample, samples for comparison, reshape. Shape 136, 1, 1811 is invalid for size of 198. That's an annoying error. So what is this? This is, we're trying to get a single sample. So we like click somewhere on the page, we like pick a section that we want to compare with, right? And then we're trying to essentially figure out what the exact output for that one guy is. And so he's saying, I convert this into a single sample. That seems fine. We get a 9x6 chunk here, which seems right. This should be like a 9x6 chunk. And then he's feeding that into something. This is turning into like a 1x9x6 chunk, probably. Print. Okay. And so then we're going into get labels for samples, and this is failing. Because he's expecting... Oh, he might be expecting... We might be giving him, like, sample width, height. And he might be expecting sample X, sample Y width, height. I think that's how we changed it last time. So probably we just have to say sample is equals sample dot unsqueeze 0 again to give him a new dimension. And that might fix us. It might. Might not, but it might. Yeah, so that looks like we're getting an image back now, so that's pretty good. And now probably we just have to apply that same fix for this guy here. Probably. Yeah, seems reasonable. And then here we might need to like take out a dimension. I'm just guessing, because I think that we have like 2 dimensions on both our inputs and our outputs that we didn't have before. So let's double check. Looks like that's working. So I click like here, I get a sample. That sample that we're getting on the output looks correct, and then we're getting like sorted scores of all of the other options, and those look okay. So it looks like we're back, we're fixed, and I should have fixed that before stream, but I just didn't notice it until I didn't have time. So we'll just say fix 2D data loader stuff in Viz script. Okay, and eventually I'll have to go back and fold that back into whatever commit he was supposed to be part of, but I'll do that later. Okay, so now we're at integrating network into visualizer. Okay, so when we train, let's quickly just train something so we have something to work with. When we train, we stick our output somewhere. Into training output, we put it here. And what this guy gives us is he gives us some parameters that the model was generated with. So like the sample width and height that we should be chunking our images into, as well as the character codes that are associated with this guy. And then he also writes down basically his like weights of the network. So the network, he's like trying to find out how much should I multiply stuff by and add stuff by before to like get the right answer from the input, right? I take input, multiply it by a bunch of stuff, get output. What is like the stuff I'm multiplying? So we write down all of the like multipliers essentially, weights and biases they call them. And so now we should be able to like run that on an image by reloading this stuff. And we've done that in our like benchmark script. So if I run benchmark and I load this guy with the appropriate weights, which this looks like it happened to have done, he is capable of loading him, and he now is saying that like he's like logging that we're getting like 61% correct, 62, 61 over time. And one of the things that benchmark script does is he generates a test image of this like single image of a house. So it looks like our like the network that we have right now is getting something that's like reasonable, right? We can load these weights, we can run them, and they'll give us like an image that doesn't like absolutely suck. And so now what we should be doing is we should be trying to like basically integrate this same code in the visualization stuff. Uh-oh. Am I back? Oof. I hate that. It's probably something oomed. Classic ooms. But it looks like stream's still working okay, so I'm not going to worry too much about it. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to look at the benchmark script. And we're going to basically pull out the code that runs the neural network. And let's just pull it into like some library function somewhere. So that we can reuse it in the visualization scripts. So what are we doing here? We open model params. We get the parameters. We extract some of the relevant parameters, and we create a glyph cache that matches the like order of characters that we had here, which we don't actually need to run the network probably, because we can just run the network on any input, so that's fine. Then we load the weights. Okay, so let's do that. We'll say what? Def load model params. So this will take in the model parameter path, which is like a JSON file with some metadata. And this will take in what? A path like. And it will return a dictionary of some form. Sure. And so then we just say this is just this with open model params as f, JSON load model params, boom, easy. And we return model params, which means that we need to import JSON. Easy. Easy peasy. So what makes this say model params is equal to load model params path, boom. Which means that we need to import load model params. Run the benchmark script again just to make sure that that's working correctly, which it looks like it is. Cool. Cool. And then, oops, sorry, I was just refreshing my stream because it looked like it was behind, and then I got audio for a second there. That was a mistake. Okay, so looks like that still runs. Great. And so now we can start running out the next step, which would be creating, like, loading the network. So we can say def load network from model params. And we'll take in the params, which is a dict, will return a network. Okay. And which means that we have to say from network import network. Easy. And here we can say, basically, this stuff here, somewhere, where was I? Over here. We create our network. So we can just copy paste this. Return network. And we can take in the device here that we want to run it on. Okay. So we can say sample width is the model params sample width. And the sample height is the model params sample height. And then we just multiply those. And it looks like that's it. Easy. Easy peasy. You could maybe argue that like the model params should be like some like parsed structure so that we don't have to like do this like dictionary indexing every time. But for now, let's ignore that. That's fine. So here we can say net is load network from model params. Model params. Okay. Okay. Oh, we have to apply the weights. Oops. So here we can say we import torch, and one of the many things that we can pass in here is the weights path, and we'll just put in a default none. So by default, we'll like we should probably say that there always has to be weights passed in. That seems reasonable. Sure. So then we say net is equal to network, and then return net. Boom. Which means that we can get rid of this stuff. We can say load network for model params, weights path device. All right. And probably this guy should be renamed to load network from model params and weights. Sure. All right. Now, is there anything else that we need to do to split out to work with this in like the visualize script? I guess this stuff is like maybe important, but that's okay. It's fine. Okay, so visualize. Now, we have, how does this thing work? We create a web server, and in our, is one of these many windows? Here we go. This guy, he populates these like labeling metrics by asking the server which ones are available. And so the server then iterates these like scoring metrics from, here we'll say, get label metrics. Right, so this guy like looks over the options and he returns them. So I guess here, we'll inject another metric, which is like the network itself, which seems reasonable. And I guess we should probably only do that if we've provided a network to visualize. So maybe one of like the many things that we can pass in here is the network definition or network params, which, sure, yeah. And we also want to be able to pass in the network weights. And then we can say that the default for these guys is none. But if we pass those in, both of them, then we will be able to load the network. Yeah. Okay. So then here we have network params and network weights. And then we just say, if network params is not none, and network weights is not none, we do something. And probably we should make sure that if we're passing in one, we pass in both. So here we can say that the parsed args is equal to the parsed arguments. And we can say parsed args network params. If parsed args network params is none, is not none, is none. So they should either be both none or both not none. So how do we like enforce that? That's like an XOR, but I don't know. So yeah, I guess we could say parsed args network params is none, and we can call that network params provided. And we do the same thing with network weights, but this guy, he now says network weights. And then we should be able to say, is there like an XOR in Python? I'm assuming that there is. Oh, yeah, sure. Not equals is XOR. That's true. If network weights provided is not equal to network params provided, we then raise a runtime error that says if network params and network weights are both required if one is provided. There we go. And then we return the parse args. Parsed args is not defined? What are you fucking talking about? It's defined right here. Am I high? Is my indexer fucking broken? Let's just run visualize now and see what happens. Namespace object is not subscriptable. What the fuck does this return? Argument parser Python. What is that thing? Usage. Where is the part where they actually like look at the values? Should this not be somewhere more obvious? Parse args. Dude, is there not just like at the start? Oh, here, core parser. Oh, I see. They come out as like variables in this guy. I see. So this is like should be this and this. Parsed args. Oh, it's because I also misspelled parsed here. That explains a lot. Okay, so that works. And if I say network params is training output test train model params, it should say, hey, you have to provide them both. And then if I say network weights is training output test train 151, that works. And then if I remove network params, it'll say, hey, you need to provide both. Great. Okay. So now if we have them both, then we can load them. So we can say network is equal to load network from model params and weights, network params, network weights, except these are not the parameters. This is expecting the parameters to be already loaded, parsed. So we'll say load model params from network params. And so we should probably also adjust the network params name to be network params path when it's passed in, because then we aren't confused about whether or not we're working with like the string of the file name or the object itself. So we'll say test is equal to network params path, which means that here this also needs to be params path, and this guy needs to be params path. Easy. Which means that this guy also needs to be params path, and this guy needs to be params path. And we probably have to give the same treatment. Well, we could give the same treatment to weights, except we're never like loading the weights as a whole, like independently, so we don't have to worry about that. And here we'll say net is equal to none in the case where they are not provided. Cool. Now our visualizer will just take in the network as one of the things that he looks at. Right? And then when we ask for our like types of labels, just one of the options that we'll give it is we'll say options is equal to this, and we'll say if net is not none, options dot append net work output, and maybe we'll throw a little underscore in here because I don't like spaces in like the like URLs and stuff. And then here we say options plus equals options plus equals these things, like all of the keys, right? And then what do we do here? We serialize the options. And so now we should, if we start the visualizer with these extra parameters, when we call, I think it's get labels. I had to provide both. Here we go. When I ask for the labels, that's maybe not the URL I'm supposed to be looking at. What is the URL I'm supposed to be looking at? Get label metrics. It's label metrics, sorry. Label metrics, like this. If I call this now, I should see that the first thing is network output, which I do. Network output, which is great. And if I don't provide these options, like this, and I refresh, network outputs isn't there. Wonderful. So we're correctly detecting that. Things are being piped around correctly. Great. Now, when we look at the metrics, so when we say like get image output, we feed this metric directly into like a labeling function. So we say like we're gonna get the label with this metric, and what we should probably do here instead is we probably have to like flip paths. If they give us network output, we know that that's like a special phrase that means we need to actually run the network instead. So here, let me think. Yeah, here we can just say if metric is equal to network output. And really, what we should be doing is instead of like hard coding network output everywhere, if we ever want to change the name of that, we can just, we want to change this like one const at the top. So we'll say network output label is equal to network output. And let's just find everywhere we've written network output so far and replace it with network output label. There we go. Easy. If the metric is the network output label, we do one thing. Otherwise, we do this other. We do this. So instead of getting the labels by this, we'll just run the network. So we say self server network, and then do we just pass in forward with our inputs? Samples. Surely that's not it, right? I'm sure that we're gonna find, we probably have to do like some like reshaping here. So let's just print samples.shape here, and we'll print labels.shape as well, because when we get there, certainly they will not be in like the right dimensions. I already forgot which function we were looking at. This is get image output. So we should be able to go back to this picture here and replace this metric with network output. And he doesn't like that none type has no object, no attribute forward, because we did not provide the network here. Sure. Now I refresh, and it says, expected all tensors to be on the same device, but found at least 2 devices. So that's our first bug, where our load network, we need to provide the expected device here. Now it's saying that it doesn't like the 2 shapes here. So our input thing before we crash is 58 by 128 by 9.6. And if I remember correctly, we should actually turn this into like a bunch of samples that have linear input. So our input right now looks like a bunch of samples that have like, or, you know, a grid. And our network input is like just like a flat set of inputs. And so what we do is we just map this pixel to this input, this pixel, this input, this pixel, this input, blah, 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 right? And what we need to do is we actually need to do that. We need to like reshape this guy. So I think we can just say samples reshape. And this samples right now is of form number of Y samples, number of X samples, height, width. And what the network is expecting is just like number of samples, height times width as its input. So we actually have to say what nx is equal to, or we'll just extract all these guys. ny nx hw is equal to labels samples shape. And then we should be able to say that the samples is equal to sample reshape. And we resample this as ny times nx h times w. And I bet that'll work. Probably. We'll find out. Refresh. Looks like still no, maybe, which is kind of surprising to me. Let's look at, we'll say sample, we'll look at the self server net linear 1. We like print this guy and see what he looks like. I have to refresh here probably. So he has in features 54, out features 300. Okay, so in features 54, that's 9 times 6. That makes sense. And so what is our print samples shape here as our input? Reshape samples. Let's see. So he should have a bunch of things of size 54, which we need to refresh to see that. So I actually don't understand the problem here, because we have things that are 54 wide. His in features are 54. So like, what's the fucking problem? Oh, Mat 1 and Mat 2 must have the same D type. Maybe I should read my errors instead of just assuming. Yeah, errors about D type, maybe something about floater or something. Yeah, you're right. It's just, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. So let's say print samples D type. It's crazy that just like reading the error actually provides a lot of useful information. So this is a uint 8 thing. So I guess we expect these to be like in the normalized range of 0 to 1 when we feed them to the network. So we can just do, we still need to do this reshape. I know that this was required anyways, but we can just also say divide by 255.0. And that will convert autocast it into a float and give it the right range, which is pretty sick. Okay, so now our labels are not quite right. So the labels, this actually gives us, for each sample, it gives us the score of each character. And down here, we're expecting it to just be the best character. So we just take the maximum. So we say labels.max on the first dimension. And this will return both the indexes and the values. And we only care about the indexes. So we can do this. And that should give us something that works correctly, I think. Not bad. Okay, so that's our network output for some image. And we can like look at the network output for image 0. And we can probably compare this to the training labels. And we can see that they are almost the same, but not quite, which is pretty sick. Pretty sick. You can tell that the labels, the training labels, this one has like a little bit more like contrast and detail compared to our network output. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Okay, so now what else doesn't work here? That's only one of the many problems that we're going to encounter here, trying to integrate this guy. So here we got our output. Sample output now is clearly not working. So let's take a look at why that doesn't like it. And it's because of the same thing, right? He's trying to use the network output as one of our score metrics. And we're probably just going to have to give like this same treatment to a few areas here. So get sample output, they do the same thing here, where they try to label. They're doing the same thing, but instead of doing it with like all the samples, they're doing it with one sample. So probably this is going to be similar. And in fact, maybe we should create like a little like generic function for this. We can call this run get labels from network. And what are our inputs here? Samples and the network. Okay. Which just does this. Boom, boom, boom. And we return labels. And we'll have another one. Get labels from scorer, I guess. And he'll do the other path, which is just this. So he is going to take in the samples and the... What is he going to take in? Samples, glyph cache, and score metrics. So we'll take in samples, glyph, blurred glyph cache, and the score metrics. You'll return labels. Which means that here we can say, please use blurred glyph cache instead of that. Use blurred glyph cache here. And here we should be using blurred glyph cache, and here we should use score metrics. Oh, and I guess also the metric. Or I guess we can take in the scoring function. And then we can just say scoring function like this. Which means over here we can say get labels from network. I should spell labels correctly instead of saying labelers, whose inputs are the samples and the network. Labels equal this. Otherwise, we say get labels from scorer, whose arguments are the samples, self.server image sampler blurred glyph cache, and the scoring function is self.server score metrics metric. And I guess we can easily check that this is working correctly by just running our... We know that this output was working correctly a second ago, so we can call it here for the network output and for the training labels. He doesn't like the training labels one, so... this labels flatten is all of a sudden not doing... Oh, because I copy-pasted. I was double-upping on the label flatten. Okay, there we go. Training labels, network, output. Both are working. Great. Easy. And so now, arguably, this should be... It's like maybe a member function of this class. Kind of makes sense there, because there's so much like self stuff in there. We can say def get labels for samples. Pass in samples. Otherwise, we do this. Samples and metric. There we go. And then we just return labels. And I guess we also need to take in self. Okay. So we can say labels here is equal to self get labels for samples, samples metric. Boom. All right. So I think that this should just extend to all of these guys. So this is label here. And that's on get sample output. There's also going to be get sample metadata somewhere. Get sample size, input, output, metadata. Here's the other place where this is going to be relevant. Oh, this is close. But not quite the same. So he has a sample and he just runs the score on them directly. So here we're going to actually have to say get scores from network, which is going to be all of this just without the max. And then this guy can be implemented in terms of scores is equal to get scores from network samples net. Then the scores max turns into the label, and then down here, we can do a very similar thing here, but instead of labels, this is scores. And this is get scores from network, and otherwise it's just this, that's fine. I'm not sure about this scores.cpu002 list. Not 100% on that. I think it's different. I'm just guessing that it should be single dimension 0 here. Because I think that this guy outputs number of characters by C scores, and this was returning NY versus NX C or something, which is why we had the 00 there. Maybe. It'll become apparent quick if we were wrong. So this was the what function were we worried about here? This is get sample metadata, which is from sample metadata here. I guess we'll just reload the index and see where it goes wrong. The main page. Okay, so if we go on training labels, everything's working. If we go to network output, we are still not happy with the sample output, so what's happening here? mat1 and mat2 shapes cannot be multiplied. Okay, so this is on get sample output. Get labels for sample here was not working correctly, which is kind of interesting. Print sample shape. What's coming in here? 1,1,36,22. Oh. What's this? We were doing like a double resize there that we shouldn't have been doing, I think. Expected 4, got 3, so we got 196 now. So we did want a double unsqueeze here to get it from a sample of width by height. This thing used to be height width, and we're trying to get it into 1 height width because our samples are expected to be indexed in 2 dimensions. So I'm pretty sure that this should work. Should work. Maybe not. We'll see. Okay, so that's working. And then if we go back here and we look at the network output for this, that's working. And we look at the training labels for this, also working. So we're chilling there. Scoring for the training labels is working down at the bottom. It doesn't look like this is getting updated for the metrics, though, for the network. So here, yeah, okay, cool. That's not working. Samples not defined. Get scores from network samples. Not defined. Because this is sample, singular. Of course, of course, of course, of course. Refresh, refresh, refresh. He doesn't like that still. Probably because the shapes are not right again. Print sample.shape. What's he getting? He's getting 1,136,22, and we're expecting when we run the network. This looks like it should actually be fine. Because we get in a... This is 1 by 1 by height by width. Oh, fuck. It's because we're doing the resize again that we shouldn't be. This resize is only associated with the unnetwork. Those... Yeah, okay. So it should kind of look more like this, where we only resize for the comparisons, but we don't resize when we feed into the network because our network's expecting the inputs to be at like source resolution, and the training output is, or the labeling is expecting them at like glyph resolution. There's a reason for that, but looks like both of these are working, so we can probably go back to the visualizer, and probably this is working for both now. So this is giving me scores for each of these guys. Interestingly, the scores here are inverted. That's interesting. So, when for our network, the best option is the biggest number, and for our labeling process, the best number is the smallest one. So here we should just say that scores times equals -1 for now. Which is kind of like fucking stupid, but it will at least get us the sorting between like the labeled versions and the scored versions are the same. Cool. Cool. Okay. That's actually gonna give us a lot of intuition, probably, like right off the bat. Let's look at like this picture, and we can like look at like this is what the answer was supposed to be. This is what we got. So we can kind of look at like the like top area, and we can say, well, why is it fucking wrong, right? If I click up here, oh, he's mad again. Why was this working a second ago but not now? Oh, okay, so it's after click something goes wrong. Let's see what he doesn't like. X, Y. Oh, he's not applying the metric. Oh, but that's fine. Tile cannot extend outside image. That's interesting. What the fuck is the problem here? Interesting. So, and when it's probably some scaling is not working correctly. Let's think about this. We'll go back here and we'll try to see if like, does what we click match what we see on the screen? If I click on this thing, the like, fuck. This like section of this sign, I should be seeing like the letter G approximately if I click there. When I zoom in, it doesn't really work, but it's hard to tell. If I click on the bottom right corner, that's also seems to be working okay. But when I switch images, it's not. So it's possible that when we switch images, we're not correctly updating the like width and height that we're scaling by. Let's see if there's like errors in that pop up in the console. Maybe that'll give us a clue. Nothing too obvious. Oh god. Fuck. I hate it when stuff crashes, man. Oh, it's annoying. That is annoying, because it also brings down my chat and shit, because my chat is in the same browser that I'm debugging in, which maybe I should just have two browsers specifically to avoid that. But it is what it is. Okay, so let's log in our index.js. When we click on stuff, on click, we update our picture. We try to like update based off of our picture X, picture Y. And it's possible that those just aren't reasonable. So go away you. We load the image, we load our little visualizer again. And let's open up a second shell so that we can edit code and run the visualizer at the same time. Give it a sec. 1 second. Come on, buddy. You can do it. Okay. Visualize. Okay. So here, I guess let's see. When we click next, or here, we try to click down here and it breaks. What are we actually sending? We are trying to send to pixel 640, like the bottom right corner. He thinks that this is approximately 640 by 430-ish. And I wonder if we can find that same image. 771 by 512. Okay. So what's the problem? What is the problem? When we say get sample, we say query params to sample. Let's look at this. What's he doing? He takes the X and Y and he opens the picture and then he extracts that section. So why would that not work? Let's here, we can print X, Y, image width, or image shape, I guess. And here let's print YX, that the order is what is the same as in Torchland. And we rerun this script so that we can see those new logs. And then we just refresh this a couple times. Refresh. So he's getting 430 by 634, 768 by 512. Oh, image ID 0. That doesn't seem right. He's still trying to get the samples for the first image. which sounds like a JavaScript bug. Sounds like we're just not updating correctly. So here, when we click on the sampler, we're supposed to update the image ID, and we're just never calling that function. I see. Quick little fix there. So image updater, init image flip buttons. The image updater is responsible for updating the sampler. And I see he should be calling update. He's just calling the wrong function. So this should be update image ID. There we go. Quick little bug, quick little fix. So hopefully now when I go here and I click down here, we should be seeing like the top of a 6 maybe. It doesn't look like these samples are matching necessarily. Yeah, it does not look like what I'm clicking is the same as what I'm seeing in like the sample input here, which is a little weird. I guess we could easily figure out why that's wrong. So if I click on the bottom right, we know that our picture is like 700 wide, and we're going to X700, Y43. That seems reasonable. Oh, it's just off by like a little bit, maybe. It's really hard to tell. Right, like here I've clicked on down below this little circle, but the circle is what's showing up on the sample, which is kind of odd. It could be that in JavaScript the scaling of the picture isn't right. It could be related to these like CSS rules that I have to try to like stretch the picture. Can I turn those off temporarily? Or let's see. Inspect. Use in console. Temp 0. How do we have like some scaling stuff in here that says we have target, offset, left. Oh, here we have width ratio and height ratio. Natural width and natural height over width and height. Okay, so we have height is the 500 pixels that we expect. Natural height should be the height of the image, 512. So that makes sense. And so then we use the width and height ratio to offset where we've clicked from the picture coordinates. And we're trying to offset so that we've clicked on the center. Very strange, very strange. So we know that when we click, the box is going where we're clicking. So page X and page Y must be correct. Maybe the width and height ratio aren't getting updated like we think they should be. So can we maybe like print console log? We'll just log all of these. And maybe that'll give us a clue as to why we're not sending the right coordinates. Maybe. We actually don't have to, we can just refresh. And we'll click once on this picture so we get a clue for, this is the width ratio for this picture. And when we update, we go here. The width ratio of the picture has updated. It thinks that the left corner of the image is in the same spot, which I think is true. Can we double check that? It doesn't move. I don't think it moves relative to the left-hand side there. So I actually don't know why this is a problem. Offset left, offset top. Oh, is it because of like the, did we have like a zoom applied in some way that was like fucking stuff up? It looks like when I move up. Oh, it is moving. Yeah, it's moving in the right direction. There's this like over 2.0 stuff. Oh, what the fuck is this? Whoa. Oh, the div offset width is the shape. There's like the width and height of the box. So we're dividing by 2 so that where we click is in the center. We were pretty confident in that. I think. Let's look at this. Can we maybe inspect? Can we inspect that little overlay thing? So as width and height are this. Can we like use them in the console? Temp 0, offset width 5. Okay, that's a good clue. So his width and height aren't actually... We're probably using the wrong field here. We're looking at offset width and offset height, which are integer values. But it looks like his width and height are floating point. So there's probably just like a scaling bug in there. Can we like... Can I like search a object for his keys that like kind of match? I guess we can look at style width. No, because that's in... We've got a px in it. I want like the floating point width of this guy. Where did like... Is offset width even in this list of fields? It is. Floating point width of div JavaScript. Get element offset width. They belong to the element. Get bounding client rect dimensions and locations as floating point numbers after performing CSS transforms. So maybe that's what I want. Maybe. Wait, is this even relevant? No. Probably not, actually. The corner of the thing should still be where it shows on screen, I think. Because here's where it shows on screen. I'm not seeing it. But it is a little annoying. I guess, hold on, let's go back. Can we go back into this thing and see? Is it possible that I want to see how off the like floating point thing is and the actual thing is. So let's see. Here, width is 5.47. And does that kind of scale with anything here? Just seems like that shouldn't matter. Page X minus the offset left over the width ratio. And these come out as floating point. Okay, let's log a little more, refresh, try again. God damn it. So on this, is it right? Like if I click down here, click on this, that looks almost right, at least. That feels right. If I go next now, click again. God damn it. Okay, okay, so here, I think it's just too far down only. What about here? It's a little down to the right. And over here, it's pretty much on. Yeah, so it could be that floating point scaling here. What did we log? We logged the picture value, the width ratio, offset left, offset right. Is it possible that my width and height ratios are like upside down? Target width over the natural width is the width ratio. I divide where I am in page space by this. So I get page space over page space times picture space. That seems right. Page X is page X. It does feel like it must just be that the width ratio is wrong, but I'm just not seeing how that's possible. I'm just not seeing it. Ooh, unless the width ratio is calculated at the wrong time. Yeah. Okay, so we've got a width ratio of 0.976. It's possible that CSS styling is adjusting the actual width of this thing on the page, and that's resulting in that width ratio being wrong. So if I say this dot width over temp 0 dot natural width, aha! My width ratio is wrong. So it's probably when we update this based off of the image load, we're not waiting for CSS styling to happen. And so we should probably add event listener layout complete image. Or we can just get the value directly right here. We can just recalculate it. So we can say that the we can store our target image here. Ditch the like cached width ratio. Sure. Okay. So here we're gonna make a function that's like get width ratio, and he's gonna say what? This dot target, just this guy. So he's gonna return this target width over this target natural width, which will be the latest and greatest. On update, we're gonna have to find the picture X and picture Y again. So I guess we can just do that here. So we can just say width ratio is equal to this width ratio. And we should probably call this get width ratio camel case, because JavaScript uses camel case in the browser. Get width ratio, boom, and we'll do the same here with height ratio is equal to get height ratio. Okay. Yup. We're close. This now has to say get height ratio. And then here, instead of dividing by this underscore width ratio, we just say width ratio. Yes. And then maybe that fixes the bug. And we just have to make a get height ratio, which is the same with heights. So here we just width goes to height and width goes to height. And then we should move these guys so that they're not at the very top. Just kind of shove them down here somewhere. And we try refreshing and see if that fixes anything. So here, he doesn't like that there's a width ratio. Here, this should be const. And camel case. And here, width ratio, height ratio. Does that do it? Come on, give it to me, baby. No errors. Next. Still no errors. I click on a dot and I see not a dot. Fuck! It's actually still kind of equally wrong, eh? The dot is still... It actually feels like just height is wrong now, where before width felt wrong. Like now I just click under the circle and I always get under the circle. Did I just fuck up my get height ratio? No. Height ratio. All right. We'll log this stuff too, I guess. Console log page Y offset top height ratio and picture Y. So when we get down to the bottom, oh, okay, I'll bet you it's just this. Oh, man, that's fucking annoying. So it looks like there's just some like padding on the top and bottom of this picture, which means that this fucking natural or this target height isn't the right thing. What is the target of this sampler? Is it the outside div? Okay, inspect. Let's see. Well, God, this is so fun. I love this. So it looks like the image itself actually is too big, probably because of this object fit. Oh, it's so fucking annoying. So this object fit contain is changing with like the height of the image is actually like this big, right? But because we're saying like no, fucking preserve our aspect ratio, that doesn't actually change the height of the image itself. So how do we get like height after object fit JavaScript? Jesus Christ. Oh my God. Oh my God, you just have to fucking recalculate it? What? Oh my God. I'm not gonna be mad. But that's so fucked. I don't want to just... Oh, that's... Okay. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I'm just gonna stretch the input for now because I don't want to deal with this. We're just gonna allow it to get stretched. Or maybe there's a way to like stick it... Yeah, we're just gonna do this. Then when I click, it's matched. All right, fuck it. Okay, we're just gonna CSS. Sorry if I was bothering you. I just want to ask about your color scheme in Vim. I suppose it's tomorrow night based off Alacrity, but I tried it with a tree sitter diff, wrote a lot of red color. It's annoying. I think it's a different color scheme than the one you've mentioned. This is using Sonokai. Probably this guy. This doesn't look like what I'm seeing. Right? Am I high? That just doesn't look like the same Vim Sonokai. It does claim that is what it says, but I guess maybe like I am seeing like the same green, same red. Yeah, maybe that is it. So I'm using this, and I'm also using Tree Sitter for to like choose the colors. But I don't know if it's like a combination of Tree Sitter and Pirate. I don't know like who's winning on like the color thing. So. Okay. So we just have to let them get stretched to avoid that clicking accuracy problem because I don't want to deal with it. So here I should be able to refresh now. And where I click should be where the sample comes from. So here I click on the dot and I get the dot. And we'll just live with the fact that the images will look a little wrong. Yeah, sure. Okay, so after all that, we were trying to see where our network doesn't match. We started here and we were saying, okay, I'm actually going to say somewhere we did fix scaling issue in visualize. Yeah, sure, fuck it. Okay, so we wanted to see why up here we expect to see this guy, but instead we're getting this guy. So in our training labels, you can kind of see how like these two are kind of similar, right? You have this guy's like the fourth best option here. And here we're like pretty close to the second best the second answer here is like the correct answer. And it'd be interesting to see like if that's a consistent trend. Where like maybe we click down here and we see that our training labels want this guy, but what does our network give us? Oh, he gives us the same one on that specific click. Let's look for a different one then. Like maybe like here. Our training labels want this guy, and our network gives us this guy. So here it looks like maybe our network has just never learned to predict this one. So let's kind of see, where do we look for this greater than less than sign, and do we see that anywhere in here? Again, close, fifth best option, but not the winner. I have also actually noticed that in our training labels, I wouldn't be shocked if statistically it's much more likely for this character to get picked. That might be a reason why, if the network's not sure, it might just trend towards the thing it sees more often. Which maybe like is like a reasonable choice for it to make. But I wouldn't be shocked if there's some sort of like trending towards most common character, right? Because if we just like look at the training labels and start like flipping through these, we do see a lot of this just like gray, right? Next, right? We see a lot of this just gray pattern. Like if we look at this image, these are all just those like tiled images. Yeah, it's all just these checker patterns, I guess is what I want to call them. So I wonder how we can combat that. You almost might want to like pick samples during training. So right now we're like picking an image and we're just saying like, show us all the labels for this image. And I wonder if the correct answer there is to kind of adjust the distribution so you're getting like a good distribution of labels. That seems possible. Seems possible. I guess, okay. So maybe we've gotten a little distracted though. Instead, I think that that's something to keep in mind, but I did want to get the visualization of like good and bad results working. I think that would be kind of fun, just to have like a little overlay of like correct and incorrect. I think that's like a good target for the day. So I do want to finish that. And so let's say that we're starting that now. Before we get too far into trying to guess why our network isn't working good. Okay, so in case y'all weren't here at the start of the stream, we were kind of saying, I lost it. I just want like to show on this right-hand image, I want to show when we're like looking at the network output, I want it to show green where it's correct and red where it's incorrect. And the thought is that like if we show red and we like flip through images and the red always looks like it's on the same characters, that'll give us like a clue as to the problem. So let's do that. Which means we're going to have to, let me think. We're going to ask the network for all of these labels. We're going to say, which one did you pick? And then we just, beside that, we have to say, which one did you want to pick? And then we can just look at the labels for each pixel, for each glyph, I should say. And we can just say if it's correct or incorrect. And I think we don't have like that concept right now. But that's okay. It's okay. We should be able to hack that in pretty quick. So here we have a way to get like an individual sample. It might make sense to, let's think, what do we want to get out of this? We want to fetch the correct or the labels. We want like on the output image. What are we going to ask for? We're going to ask for the output grid or something. That doesn't sound right. I want like a grid, a 2D array response of what the predicted and correct labels were. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So for we're gonna ask for output labels, and we're gonna be able to pass in maybe like output labels with metric is equal to network output, and then we'll also ask for one with the metric equal to training labels. And then we can just render that on top as in JavaScript, we can just compare these two. And that will determine whether or not an area of the image is green or red. That seems reasonable to me. So we'll just add one of these things. We'll call this output labels. We'll call this get output labels. Seems reasonable. And we'll say here, get output labels. And presumably we're going to have like the same ID and metric inputs that we have to the output. Yep. And we're actually going to do all of the same things we do here, which is kind of interesting. Just instead of rendering now, we're going to just return the labels directly. So we're just going to say what? Labels reshape into -1 and num x samples. And let's just see what that gives us before we get too crazy. So we can just open this in a new tab and replace output with output labels. Restart the server, and we'll just see. I guess we can just JSON dumps labels to list, and self w file ret.encode. Yeah. So this should return a JavaScript array. A JavaScript 2D array of labels is what we're looking for here. So restart our server here. And when I refresh this, I get a looks like single dimension, which is kind of odd. Oh, because I want to convert this into 2 dimensions here. Okay. And I don't know if the toList thing will work here, but it looks like we do have 2-dimensional array here. Here's the first row. And then here's the second row, which is pretty sick. Which means that now we should just be able to call network output and training labels. Cool. And those two should give us the information we need. So here we have input image as one of our things, output image. And I guess the output image is now just going to have like this overlay on top. So we're going to say this overlay is equal to something. Don't know what yet. I guess we're going to create a new... Okay, so how do we do this? We need to make like a bunch of green and red boxes over top of the image. It probably makes sense. You could do this 2 ways, right? You could use a bunch of like HTML elements and stick them in the right spots. Or you could make an SVG and just draw the boxes yourself. Which doesn't seem unreasonable, really. And I wonder if we then just make an SVG that has the width and height of like number of samples and then just stretch it to overlay on top of the image. I wonder if we just like get the right thing for free. That'd be kind of fun to try that. So let's see. JavaScript, make SVG. Creating SVG graphics using JavaScript. Create element ns svg ns, yeah, and this looks right. Okay, so I think I've looked at this before. Mozilla svg intro. Introduction to svg. Before you start, I don't really want to read before you start. I just want to skip the parts that they tell me I have to do and do my own thing. Okay. So let's start by just shoving an SVG into our thing somewhere. Okay. So if I just put an SVG as part of our like image template, we should end up with like an SVG next to these guys. No? Nope. Let's just make one maybe here. I just want to like see it somewhere. Okay, here we go. SVG. Wonderful. Now, can we just like clear out the contents of this guy? I guess we want rects here. And let's say that we wanted like, let's say that we want a rect with a width of like 6 pixels, height 9 pixels. And is there like a way to like SVG alpha? Fill opacity is equal to like 0.2. And like, what do we see if we do that? Okay, cool. So we do get a SVG with like a light red box there. And it would be interesting to maybe put this inside a div with like 50 pixels, or maybe we'll say like 500 pix, height 500 pix, background gray, right? So we're just gonna make a gray div that this SVG sits on top of, and we want to know if the like it looks like the opacity of this red box is in fact being applied to the thing underneath it. So that's a really good sign. Now the other thing we want to see is say that we make our SVG width and height 6, right? So that that's the whole thing. And can we just like stretch the fuck out of this guy now? Can we like add like a style width 500 pix, height 500 pix, and will it like stretch our red thing over the whole image? Maybe not. But maybe that's not how you apply that. So can we like maybe inspect and go to this SVG? It does look like changing this doesn't seem to have an effect. Like it doesn't stretch. Can we CSS stretch SVG? Is that something that we can do? How to scale an SVG? SVG is not just an image. I get that. Shut up. Just tell me if like is it, dude. Okay, I don't need like don't give me like a fucking million things here. Just tell me. Yeah, at first glance at SVG, I tried that. I tried that. Just give me the answer, man. VBox. There's a whole lot of magic. Okay. How to scale. So, VBox, blah, blah, blah. We could set the VBox manually. Use image auto sizing. So if I say like 6, 6, 300, 300, does that rescale? Is that what they said this does? Why is this green? Whatever. Refresh. SVG is there. Can we just, okay, let's fill opacity 1.0. I don't really care about that anymore. Refresh. Okay, so there's my red box. And SVG view box. What does that do? So I say view box. So he goes 0, 0, 100, 100. So that probably just sets like the bounds of the whole thing. Sure. So if I say 0, 0, 100, 100, what does that do? Open, refresh. It seems to just fuck up my SVG. Can I edit this on the fly? 10, 10. Ooh, wait, we're gonna 1, 1? Oh, maybe it's inverted? It doesn't seem to be doing what I want. Doesn't seem to be doing what I want. Hold on. It does seem like it might be doing a lot. 0, 0, 10, 10. Okay, so the 10, 10 is zoomed in. Oh, the point is the center of the viewport with the value 50% relative to 5, blah, blah, blah. Maybe it's just not as trivial as I would have hoped. Maybe I should actually read this. Use inline SVG, latest Blink Firefox features. Use image auto-sizing. When using a file has a view box is embedded into an image, browsers almost nearly scale the image to match the aspect ratio to find in the view box. Oh, set view box and height and width? Okay. So what does this do? I set viewbox 0066, height and width 66. I just want to know if this is like, I guess it doesn't matter. This scaling thing will just not work, I guess, easily, and we'll just have to calculate the correct spots to put that in. That's fine. I should just be okay with that. Okay, so in JavaScript, we have to like create a rectangle for each thing and say if it's like green or red based off of if it matches or not. So we can go into index.js and we can say init correct SVG. Just for now, we'll do it externally, or maybe we'll just do it straight in here. So here we're just gonna make this a test SVG. We're gonna take off this viewbox attribute that we don't need, and we're gonna make it empty. We're gonna say SVG is document get element by ID test SVG. Great. We can actually skip doing everything else that we do on init because this is all we care about right now. And what are we going to do? We are going to fetch the output labels with image ID 0. Metric is equal to network output. And then we're going to say then response is going to be turned into the response JSON. We're going to say that the network output is equal to await this. And then we have the, from the network output, we also have the label training or label output is with the metric training labels. Okay. These have to have consts on them so that they are variables that we're allowed to work with. Boom. And then we can say for y in network output, for y of network output, I think, or for row of network output, I guess. For y in, okay, we want to work with indexes, so for y, let y is equal to 0. Y is less than network output length. And then we increment y. Let's just print network output y just to see. This would be console.log. Console log network output y. Let's just see what this gives us. So we refresh the page here, and we should see each row printed. Great. Then we just do the same thing for x equals 0, x is less than network output y length plus plus x. You inspire me to try to play with PyTorch as well, and I'm trying to upgrade CUDA. Good luck, man. That stuff is not fun sometimes. But good luck. Good luck. Okay. So it looks like printing out each x and y is working. Yo, what's up? And we can then make a new array of arrays. So we're going to say const is same is equal to, how do you make like a new array? I don't remember how to, I guess you just do this. And then presumably there's some sort of like append thing. Push, maybe? Yeah, okay. So for y, we say is same push this at the end. We're going to say row is same is equal to a new array here. Why are you using then on fetch instead of using await? Because I didn't want to have to like, I don't know if you can do like await twice, right? If I'm doing like fetch thing, fetched is equal to await this, right? But then I want to do like a transformation on this. So then I would have to do fetched to is equal to like fetched JSON await this. And I just don't know what the syntax for this is in JavaScript to like chain those together. So I just did like a then here to like do essentially this, but where JSON is like another awaitable thing. So I just don't know if there's like a better syntax. If you see me doing anything in JavaScript and you ask why, an answer is very likely going to be, I don't fucking know what's going on. My JavaScript is shit. So I'm sure that there may be a better way, but this is what I'm doing here. Okay, so we're gonna push row is same here, and then for each of these we're gonna say row is same push, and we just push that the network output yx is equal to the label output yx. And then here let's console log is same and then return. That might work. Let's see what we get. So we have our thing with a bunch of trues and falses, which is sick. And now, let's just try to make our SVG out of that. So we're going to look at the SVG. And we're going to set its width and height, I guess, to be something. Can you set those directly? Let's see. Let's pull out the SVG. Which is somewhere. One of these many things should be... Why do I not see it here? Am I high? Oh, it's because it's in a div. Oops, okay, here. All right. Oh, maybe that's why the view box isn't working. Was I setting the view box on the wrong thing? That's possible. But whatever, it's fine. So we'll set the width of this guy to be... I guess we'll set it manually. So can we just like look at this? Can we use in console and say width equals 500 pix? Let's make a rect in here initially with fill is equal to red, width is equal to 100%, and height is equal to 100%. Just to like try to see. Okay, there, we've got a full thing. And now I can say, let's look at this guy. And if I assign his width to be like 30 pix, that doesn't seem to have like any effect on this guy, which is kind of interesting. What if I like set it, can I like add a property to this guy? Doesn't look like I can easily. JavaScript set SVG size. Change height and width. Style.height. Really? No, he's... Oh. you can adjust the rect, but I want to adjust like the whole object size. But he's just calling set attribute. So I guess theoretically, here if we did SVG set attribute width to be like 100 pixels and the height to be 100 pixels, do we see like a square if we refresh? No, because SVG set attribute, obviously. Okay, there we go. Okay, so we can set the width and the height of the SVG, and then we can set it to like some size. We're gonna say width is equal to, we'll just start at like 800 pixels or something, and the height to 600 pixels. I guess it should be 800 by 600. And then we will say that these are, we'll set these manually with some string manipulation. And I guess we also have to write the word const here. So now we should see an 800 by 600 thing. Nice. Let's delete this rectangle in here now. And what we're going to want to do now is we're going to have to iterate our like is same of the left and right and add a rectangle for each one. So I think that I saw SVG JavaScript create rectangle. Create element ns with this guy. Here we go. So we'll just copy this for now. Okay. And then we'll just do the same for yx here. I guess we don't actually have to cache is same here. We can just do this all. Well, okay, whatever. Whatever. For y in is same length. For x in is same y length. Then we extract is element is same is equal to is same yx. Great. For each one of these guys, we're going to create a new rect, and his width is going to be constant, right? So his lm width is going to be width over is same 0 length. The lm height is going to be height over is same length. Okay. And now our rectangle is just going to take on some of those attributes. We're going to say rect dot set attribute width is lm width, but in pixels, probably. So I think we have to do this like bullshit string stuff. And then I don't know how to like set x and y positions on an SVG. CXCY, SVG rect. Probably somebody is going to tell me what the options are here. X and Y, are these referring to the top left corner? The X coordinate of the rect. But what does it mean? What is it? It must be top left. If the default value is 0, it's got to be. Okay, so we're going to say, what, the top left, rect x is going to be x times lm width. Rect y is going to be y times lm height. And so now we can just say that the x is going to be rect x. Height y is going to be rect y. And the color is going to be if lm is same, color is equal to green. Otherwise, it's equal to red. And then we just set the this should be a let binding here. And then here we just say the fill is going to be color. And maybe if I refresh now, we're going to get something interesting. Instead, we got something very not interesting, which is kind of surprising, actually. Oh, because we didn't actually add any of these rects to the SVG. So you see SVG add child element as rect, maybe? He doesn't like that. So what are like my things in here? Did you ever dabble with electronics? I went to like a school for computer engineering, which involved a lot of electrical engineering, where we got to do like FPGA programming and like breadboards and stuff. And then I worked in firmware for a while. So depending on what you mean by dabble with electronics, the answer is probably yes. How do I SVG add child node JavaScript? But I will admit that I feel pretty weak in that department, right? If you like, I have one of these guys on my desk. Let's see if I can put him in front of the camera. Is that on screen? Actually, I'm looking at the wrong one. One of these. And I haven't built anything with him because I've been too lazy to figure out what like the right answer is. If I'm like, I wanted to like hook it up to like an LED strip and program some sort of like arcade thing on the wall or something. Like a really big, shitty LCD. But then I was like, oh, I have to like deal with like soldering and like making a little board and like pull up resistors and stuff. Like just like the very basic, like I don't want to burn anything out. I'm like, oh, that sounds like I have to like relearn stuff. And so I just haven't done it. So my knowledge there is quite lacking compared to what my like education would suggest. Yeah. But like at work when I worked in like firmware, we did a lot, like I got to do a lot of like scoping and stuff where you're like, oh, why the fuck is this not doing what I expect? You like pull up the scope and you go like, oh, there's like some like corruption on this line and stuff like that. That's pretty fun. Append child is what I'm looking for. All right. All right. That looks pretty good. So that is probably a map of where we got like the correct and incorrect answers. And now all we have to do is like scale that appropriately so that it is like the same size as the image. Okay. So which probably means that all we have to do is like, say we like adjust the width to 400, we should see like the same shape, just kind of like compressed, which is really, that's a good sign. Very good sign. And then all we have to do is make the width and height the same. Can you like stack two elements in CSS? CSS, put one image on top of another. Look at that. So I just set relative position on or absolute, both. Oh, I see. Absolute position would be relative to the parent, and then I just make sure that they're set the same. Why? This guy's doing something wacky. I don't like that. This looks more reasonable. So they just absolute position both images and set their z index. Yeah, okay, that makes more, that seems reasonable to me. So I guess what I should be able to do is I guess all of this is going to be like a function of the output image. And I guess the last step here is I want to create the SVG manually. So instead of getting element by get element by ID, I should just be able to somewhere create this. So I should be able to say const SVG is equal to create element namespace in SVG. Where's the namespace here? In the SVG namespace, SVG. And then I should be able to just document append child SVG. And I think that should just inject my whole thing into the DOM somewhere. Doesn't like that. Append print console log SVG. Hey, you upgraded CUDA. Good shit. We got there. Okay, so we have an SVG here, and it's just that the node append child doesn't like that. So append SVG to DOM. Oh, do I have to do svg10 or something? No, that's not right. Append child. Create element svg. Ah, he does put a 0. Get svg element. Sure. Okay. So if I just say this, does that do more or less what I expect? No. No, it does not. Don't worry, Torch won't install. Yeah, I've been there, man. I've been there. It sucks. Okay. Init 258. So he still doesn't like this for some reason. What did this guy do that I just was trying to copy paste? He says, get elements by tagging it. Oh no, I want to create a new SVG from scratch. Create SVG and append to document. Create SVG, append child. Oh, document body append child? I'm just an idiot. Yeah, of course. Of course. There we go. Okay, there. I've got my SVG. I created it completely in JavaScript. And now I can like inject this wherever I want. Which means that I can like create a little SVG render in here somewhere. And he's gonna have like a constructor who has like a desired width and height probably. I guess those can change over time as the image changes. We'll make this a little bit more specific. We'll call this network correctness renderer, I guess. And we'll just say we're gonna put this in this location. Yeah. What distro am I using? Nix OS. Not that I think that distro choice matters too much, but there are some elements about it that I like. It's pretty nice. Okay, so when we create this, when we construct this guy, the first thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to create the SVG. So we'll do this. And then we're going to want to append him to the parent element. Okay. Seems reasonable. Then what are we going to do? We're going to want to have like some sort of like update function that's called when the images change. So probably we're going to say this is going to be update on image ID. And we're probably going to also want to update on the metric. We might want to compare to, we only want to run this when we're using the network output metric. So I guess we'll say if the metric, if metric is not equal to network output, we'll just hide it. Is it like style display is equal to none or something? Else, what is our what are options for display? I always forget. Use in console. Now I want to look at the. I just want to go here and type display. None. Okay, and then what are my other options? Block probably is like what I want. And then if we update the ID, I guess we're just gonna have to like re-render the SVG. Which seems reasonable. And I guess we're probably actually gonna want to do it on load of the image, not on update. Well, we'll see. We'll start with this .id is 0. We won't worry about handling anything else for now. Because I don't want to. So this is going to be like the SVG re-render. And we can probably just copy paste a lot of what we had before. I guess we should also keep track of our parent element. Or we don't have to because we have it already. This.svg.parent element probably already exists. We'll ignore this for now, though. And just copy paste the stuff we have right now. So this is going to be an async function, and he's going to do the same thing where he gets the constructs labels, checks if they're the same. Great. Easy. Then what are we going to do? We're going to do the same thing down here. I think that we can just do all the same shit for now. And the only thing that we actually have to change here is svg has to be this.svg. And I guess every time we do this, we should clear the svg children. So can you like say temp1 dot children clear inner? Is there like an inner? Oh, yeah, okay. That's not really right, but sure, we'll just do that. We'll say this svg inner HTML is equal to nothing. Just clear out all the children. I'm not sure if there's like a better, more correct way to do that, but that one will be good enough. And then what? We're going to fetch from this ID. And the same for this one. Like this, I think. That looks right. And fuck it. Then when we update ID, we'll just say this.id is equal to ID and this.update. And then we have somewhere our image updater. Somewhere we keep track of all of the people we need to update, and we just have to say this dot, what do we call this guy? Something renderer. Network correctness renderer. This dot correctness is equal to correctness, and then this dot correctness dot update ID this dot ID. Easy, 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 easy. And then we pass in correctness here. We delete. We get add-u, get comment-m checkpoint because I'm about to delete a bunch of code and I don't want to lose it. Nuke all this crap because it's copy-pasted somewhere else. And then down here, we have to create our correctness renderer. Is equal to new network correctness renderer, who takes in a parent element. We'll just say document body for now. We'll stick with the end. I've misspelled network. There we go. And then we pass this guy to here. So what should happen now is we should see, when I refresh, we should see this like thing exist somewhere down here. Nice. And if I hit next on him, we should see him kind of like update to match. And I think he is. His height and width need to scale properly, but it does look like he's changing kind of to match something, which is good. Okay. So let's put him somewhere else so that he's easier to look at. And probably we can just put him in the full image comparison thing. So we'll say image, const image. Oh, we already have this. So we'll just say full image container. And so he should show up here. Nice. And we do see him updating as we change, which is very sick. And let's just set his height and width to match the height and width of the image. So maybe we'll say update size. We'll say maybe width height here. And we'll say this dot width is equal to width. This dot height is equal to height. And then we'll update. Then here, instead of using these, width and height everywhere, we'll just say this dot width, this dot height. And this dot width, this dot height. And then we just have to update the width, the size when we get the output image. So that's going to be like, we're going to have like, sorry, output image, something. There's some like div that this guy's keeping track of. Output image. And he's got a dot image on him. Dot on add event listener load. And I think you can do something like this. Is that correct JavaScript? So we load on when the image loads, we update our correctness renderer. We're gonna say update size, target dot offset width, target dot offset height. Maybe this is all like really off the top of my head. I'm not really sure. We'll see. He doesn't like that, so certainly I just fucking typed something wrong in here. So we'll hit next and unexpected value, nan pix. Okay, so let's like print target here. Not print it, console log it. If we print it, what we actually see is the browser will try to print it to the piece of paper, which is an insane thing. Add event listener is not a function. Is because I just spelt it wrong. Listener instead of listener. Oh, the color scheme is wrong because I don't use term GUI colors. What the fuck is that? Am I just like set term GUI colors? Oh, what the fuck? Wow. Did you guys know about this? That's crazy. That's pretty funny. That's crazy. Okay. So also I have to set the initial width and height. So we'll just set the initial width and height to 0, like 800 by 600 or something. This width is equal to 800. This height is equal to 600. Okay. So now when I refresh this page, hopefully everything kind of works the way we expect. Nope, still nan px. So we'll say print. Is there somewhere where I can actually console, okay, wait, what am I doing here? Somewhere I use this width and this height. Is same length, okay. So we divide by these. It's possible that length here is a bad value. Can I just look at the SVG and is it like in here in the world at all? Undefined pix, nan pix. Okay. But isn't this, don't I set this width and this height here? Am I high? I feel like I'm missing something. Banana moment. That's pretty funny. I've never seen that, but I like it. Update size. It must be that these aren't defined somewhere. So if I here just console log target, maybe I'm just missing something there. Okay, there we go. So here I have the, oh, this is an event. I see. So this should be event, and this should probably be event target, like this. And then hopefully the image on the right should match. There we go. Okay, next. That looks like it's almost doing something, right? It looks like it's kind of like running off the edge a little bit. So maybe I'll take this out of the flex box because I don't like the way that's behaving. And instead, I'll just put it in div id is equal to network comp. And I'll just put it here. Just for now. It doesn't need to be perfect. It does not need to be perfect. So here we'll just put this in document get element by ID network comp. And certainly that will look good enough. All right. All right. So it would probably be like a little bit better if we could see this overlaid on the image on the right. But, you know, I'm not too worried about it. So here we're seeing that it's wrong along like the borders of the lights. We're seeing actually like a lot of wrong, which is pretty interesting. Here it's wrong like fucking everywhere. So what's happening here? The network output is just gray. I see. I see. So I think probably we're seeing, it would be nice if we could, oh my god, what is happening here? That's really weird. Maybe the flexbox width is limited to the width of the page, so the height is scaling up, but the width isn't. That's so funny. Okay. But if we look at the training labels here, versus the network output, we do see that it's just, the network output is just kind of leaning towards gray. So also like the network that we trained here, we only trained it like very briefly, so we didn't really like let it get better. But I imagine that I'm going to be able to use this to get better intuition on what the problems are, which is going to be nice. I think that like there's like a little bit of like a minor improvement that we can make here by overlaying this on top. But for now, I think that this is actually giving me enough info that I'm willing to kind of call it here. Also, as usual, it's actually just because we're at over 2 hours and I don't want the video to stretch on too long. So, but I think this is pretty cool. Pretty cool. So we got what we did this stream. We managed to get the network output in here. We managed to get it hooked up to both like the visualizer output here as well as the like scoring on the bottom. So now we can like do things like compare. Well, if we click on this spot here, would we see the network output is picking this guy and the labels are saying that it should be this guy, but you can see here that the label is saying that the second most best thing is the thing that the network predicted. So the fact that we're calling that straight wrong is maybe maybe not quite right, but we'll see. So there's a chance that either like our metric of correctness needs some sort of improvement, right? There's a chance that we can expand our network to get a better answer. There's a possibility that like our training, I kind of have this like idea that there are some characters that are more common, and so the probability distributions are going to be weighted towards those answers. So maybe we just need to make sure that we're like correctly distributing our data so that it's doing the right thing. But overall, I think this is going to be like a very useful tool in terms of like helping me understand and decide what to do next. So thanks for watching, guys. If you like what you saw, I stream most days at around 1 or 2 Pacific time for around 1 or 2 hours. If you want to catch me live, that's where you go. You go to Twitch, see me live. But if you want to catch up and you don't catch me live, or you don't want to watch live, there's a YouTube link in the Twitch description, as well as a GitHub link and a Discord link. So the GitHub, this code will eventually make it here, maybe in a slightly more refined state. I'm a little bit behind here. But hopefully I'll be catching up soon. Yeah, other than that, have a good day. Catch you guys later. Bye.